Morning, everybody waking up. I may have started early. We're going old school today, and we're running the show, and I think I may have jumped the gun. So if it just sounds like I was just saying some words in the middle of a sentence, so be it. There's no take two. We're just going to move on, plow on through. Happy Memorial Day, 11:30. I'm here with the DC Draft Sheet. What's going on?
It's pretty early for Memorial Day weekend here, Dean. 10:30 here in Central Time. So I'm awake. I got some iced coffee. I didn't have time to shower, so I do have the bed head that you promised on Twitter.
Do you want to show the people, or just
Here we go. Here's the bed head. There it is.
There it is. Nice. You said take the over, 88% chance. So
yes, exactly. It was a good bet, but I'm ready for some baseball. I think every team is in play today. From what I can tell, the weather looks pretty good. I think most games will go, and should be a fun day. If you like baseball, if you like DFS, well, you can make teams, research, go to a different slate, and just kind of watch baseball and research DFS all day if you want to.
There's something I want to bring up, by the way. Friday, the Ducky Tournament of Shame that takes place on DraftKings. This is a DraftKings sponsored show. Every week, the lose. Nobody remembers who wins the Tournament of Shame. Nobody cares. Incidentally, I believe Dan Bach won that, but congratulations. It's not about the money. It's about who finishes last. And I was rooting for you so hard to finish last. You finished 24th out of 25th, and the shameful act this week would have been to put an autographed picture of yours on eBay. And I want that. So I'm very disappointed about this.
Yeah, even good old Edwin Jackson and his negative 79 DraftKings points couldn't propel me to last. So just barely avoided it. Got kind of lucky there, but I'm sure there'll be another one. Is that a weekly thing every Friday?
That is a weekly thing. Every single Friday there's a new shameful act. Ducky will promote it throughout I think on his weekly article. He'll put a link up there. But
yeah,
I think 25 people were in this last week. He's going to try to get a little bit bigger, but I was very disappointed. I was rooting against you, but shame on you for putting trusting Edwin Jackson with your shame. I mean, you deserve to lose.
He's got such a good slider, though.
Oh yeah, such a good slider. Unbelievable. Yeah. So the people were asking about pancakes. It was it's too early for pancakes, right?
Well, it's not too early for pancakes. I just did not get up in time to make them with my free-range chickens. So after the show, I'll be taking a trip to Whole Foods, restock on the $30 per egg eggs that they have at full Whole Foods, and make some delicious pancakes, and I'll be ready to go for the day.
Yeah, you told me pre-show you had yourself an organic blueberry muffin to hold yourself over.
Yeah, it'll have to do for now, but pancakes, they'll be eaten. It's a holiday. I always eat pancakes on holidays.
Fair enough. So no grilling out for you today?
Well, that could happen later. We got a whole day off here. Whole day off.
You got to pace yourself.
That's right.
Yeah, so you said something about the weather today. I saw there was some issues last night. Just taking an early look at the weather, and you're saying most things pretty much cleared up today? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, there was some question as to whether the game here in Minnesota would get in. I was just outside. It is very steamy today. I think probably the warmest day we've had all year. And that looks pretty good to go. It looks like, some storms could be moving in later this afternoon, but I think it will be clear. It is very humid, so anytime, you see that humidity, you kind of wonder if some storms could pop up at any time. But as of now, I have no problem targeting the Rangers and Twins game, and I certainly think there are some good plays there. And other than that, it looks pretty good. There is some rain predicted in St. Louis, some scattered T-storms. But usually when you see that kind of thing, that 40% scattered thunderstorms, usually those games do end up getting played. But certainly something to monitor as the day goes on. I don't believe that game is available on some of the early slates, at least over on FanDuel. So on DraftKings, if you want to target people from the St. Louis Yankee game, you can do that and then maybe swap them out. There are a number of ways you could go there. So weather looks good. It's warming up most places, and I think we're going to see a lot of runs scored today. It should be a pretty fun day in MLB DFS.
You said it's humid in Minnesota. I imagine that's not going to help out Kevin Correa.
No, Kevin Correa, he had a decent start there in San Diego, but I think shit's going to hit the fan for him today. I do expect the Rangers to push, quite a few runs across the plate. So I think the Rangers are definitely good plays, and in particular, old Shin-Soo Choo is in a great spot tonight. today.
I like Chu as nice little teaser, but yeah, I like Chu as well. We're gonna jump into games in a second. So we're focusing mostly here on DraftKings. Their game slate's kind of it's a little different. They have 11 games in the early slate and 4 games in the late slate. That's different than other sites. I think DraftStreet has like an all-day slate, and FanDuel's chopped it up like 5, and I'm not exactly sure how they chopped it up, but we're gonna mostly work off DraftKings just because that's our sponsor and that's what we're gonna do. In the early slate, top pitcher, is it gonna be Michael Wacha?
That's kind of who I have as my number 1 by default. Certainly not super excited to play him against the Yankees. They're getting older. A lot of their hitters aren't what they used to be, but they're still a decent offense. Normally I like to take my pitches against, teams that strike out a lot, teams in the bottom half. Yankees don't really strike out that much against right-handed pitchers, but Wacha does have a couple things going for him here, or I should say the Yankees have a couple things going against them. They are used to playing most of their games, 1 in the American League, where they get a DH, and 2 in hitters' parks in the AL East. You talk about Yankee Stadium, Rogers Center in Toronto, Fenway Park, Camden Yards, pretty much every park in the AL East besides the Rays Park is kind of a hitter's paradise more or less. Busch Stadium is kind of sneaky hard for hitters, so. Given that and the fact that they lose their DH, I think Wacha is kind of a sneaky good play today.
The issue I'm coming up with here is some of my favorite plays as far as starting pitcher are in the late slate, the 4-game late slate. We love Yordano Ventura at home versus Houston. How could you not?
Yeah.
9.7K. We cannot play him early. I like Ryu as well. 9.1K. Sure, if you have the money for Cueto, I guess you can pay up 12.4K. But again, these guys are not available in the early slate, so I think Wacha is going to be really heavily owned just because he looks like the clear-cut number 1 guy. I like Roark versus the Marlins. He's kind of priced up a little bit on DraftKings. At least, he's more of a discount in other spots in the industry, so I'm not sure if I'm going to pay that. But you gotta roster 2 guys. Tyler Skaggs kind of sneaky against Seattle. Seattle terrible against lefties. We saw Keuchel against him yesterday. Of course, I think Keuchel's far ahead of Skaggs right now, but worth a look.
I mean, Keuchel's the best pitcher that ever lived, so of course he's a little bit ahead of Skaggs.
Yeah, sure, but we've seen Seattle. What do they have? 6, 7. I don't know how many lefties they're going to have in their lineup today, but there's tons of lefties in that lineup. And Skaggs was a pretty big prospect, and he's kind of been up and down. He has his moments. He's sort of he's inconsistent. I'll say that. But when he's on, he's really on. What about the small stake? How do you feel about Petit?
Oh man, I would like him if he was going further in games.
Yeah.
That's my big worry with him. The 2 games he started, the last game against Colorado, I don't believe he started that game where he went 3 innings. But if you look at his game log, he's been pretty effective. But he hasn't thrown more than 92 pitches all year. Both his starts have been right around 90, most of them. And it's just hard to roster someone, when they're basically going to go 5-6 innings max if everything goes well. So the upside isn't there. You talk about a floor for a starting pitcher. Every pitcher kind of has the same floor. Anyone can get lit up. Certainly, it's more likely for some pitchers than others. But so he's certainly got the floor, even against Chicago. And then when you don't have access to a ceiling, it's hard for me to roster a guy like Petit, especially in a GPP. But certainly the matchup is there, the park is there, and the price is there. I just don't know, how high his ceiling is, given that he can't, as far as we know, go deep into a ball game.
I agree. It's just my only issue is I can't find a second guy. Yeah, you're right. His ceiling is definitely lower than most because he's probably going to go maybe 5-6 innings. He is facing the Cubs, who are terrible, and you're right, big ballpark. So if all goes well, maybe he goes 5 or 6 innings, strikes out 5 or 6 guys, gives up an earned run and gets a win, which obviously you take, but you need everything to go well. So who are we pairing with in this early slate? Who are we pairing with Michael Wacha? We got to roster 2 guys. Urban Santana, we're not really getting a discount, despite the fact he's been horrific his last 2 outings. Has David Ortiz playing in that game? I have not seen the roster.
Yeah.
Okay, he's playing. I wasn't sure. They lose the DH, and I guess Ortiz is playing first. I know Napoli won the DL as well. So whoever it is, they're going to lose 1 bat, maybe Johnny Gomes or something like that. I guess you're looking at it, and I'm not. So.
Yeah, I mean, Santana certainly, got off to an amazing start, but he's certainly come back to earth. he's been in the big leagues, obviously, 7, 8 years, whatever it is at this point, and it was kind of questionable for me. Where did this amazing, pitcher come from? He hasn't really been that great most of his career. In his first few starts of the season was just on fire, but he's back to what he was, which is kind of maybe a slightly above average pitcher, but nothing special. A guy who struggles against left-handers a little bit, and his velocity is declining as well. So I don't know. He just came out of the gates feeling good, throwing hard, but I think we're back to old Irvin Santana, and I don't want to pay a top dollar price against a Boston lineup, which maybe isn't what it once was, but still pretty good, and a lot of good hitters in there, and a lot of lefties. So I don't think I'm on Santana just given his recent struggles, and then there's no discount there at all. So if he was down maybe around 8 or 9K, I would certainly consider him. But at 10.3, as the second most highest priced pitcher on the board on DraftKings, I don't think I'll be going there.
That's my problem. I want the discount. Give me the discount for him being awful of late. That I would appreciate it then. Yeah, 8 or 9K, I would roster him, and we have to roster too. So Tanner Roark versus Eovaldi, I think that's a 7.5 over under. Big ballpark. I think that's gonna be like a 2-1, 3-2 kind of game. So I'm perfectly fine with either one of those two.
Yeah.
I guess I think Roark gets a slight edge, but he does cost more money. Eovaldi's got a higher strikeout potential, but I think Roark's got the better chance of a win. It's just not. I mean, what about Samardzija against the Giants? I mean, he's got a high ceiling. They don't win for him though, for whatever that's worth. They just, for whatever, the Cubs just refuse to win for Samardzija. So I don't know. I don't really know where to go. Help me out here. Throw some names at me. Skaggs? Are we looking at Skaggs at 7.9?
That's kind of who I'm looking at. I think Skaggs is in a pretty good spot here. I don't think he's going to be a phenomenal major league pitcher, just based on what I can tell from his stuff and some of his underlying peripherals. But this is a good spot for him. Seattle does struggle against lefties. Good pitcher's park here in Seattle. And he's cheap, and he's not. I don't think I've rostered Skaggs maybe once this whole year, but he's had some good outings. He's had some where he's struggled as well, but he's faced pretty good competition. His stats look okay. He's getting a lot of ground balls, getting some strikeouts, and for me, he's my number 2 guy here, at least on DraftKings. 7.9K. That's a pretty good price for him. There's not too many guys below him that you could really consider. So I do like Skaggs quite a bit.
Okay, so for a tournament only, not for a cash game, but Clay Buchholz versus the strikeout happy Braves, maybe 6.4K. It's really cheap, cheap.
Buchholz looks so bad.
I know, but the Braves, they can swing and miss a ton, and you got to pick somebody. And he's what, the 3rd cheapest. Yeah. Look at the guys that are next to him: Kyle Kendrick, Chris Young, Brandon Compton, Chacin, Correa. He's a little bit. I mean, he's got higher upside than those guys. He's been absolutely awful. I completely concede that, and I would not play him in a cash game. That would be like trusting Edwin Jack. Well, no, that's not so bad because Jackson was facing with the Padres, so that's not so horrific. But for a tournament, maybe? No, I can't sell you on it.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly like him better than the guys surrounding him. So, if you got all the bats you want, maybe you want to pay up for bats today, which I don't think is a bad strategy, and he fits. I do like him better than the kind of the surrounding competition for that second starter spot. Certainly guys below him, I don't think I would consider. That said, I don't know if I'll be going there, but I do see the upside there. Atlanta does struggle against right-handed pitching in particular, and the strikeouts are certainly there. Buchholz, has his good stuff, but he certainly hasn't had it many times this season. I don't know if we'll see it today, but could be a sneaky GPP play there. I'll give you that.
And like we say, just on the late slate, I guess it would be Ventura and Ryu, maybe Cueto if you can afford him. How do you feel about Drew Hutchinson today versus Tampa? I know you don't like Eric Bedard.
Yeah, I definitely like the Toronto bats. Hutchinson could be good. The Rays are kind of sneaky hard against right-handed pitching. Maybe more as a cash game play, which is kind of surprising given Hutchinson's, the type of pitcher he is. But the Rays just don't strike out very much. They're pretty patient. It's kind of hard to have a monster game against them. But Hutchinson certainly has the stuff if he's, able to locate to have a big game. So, yeah, I don't mind him.
All right, let's get out of starting pitching. It's just kind of a mess today. Do you feel very strongly that Waka kind of pretty much has to be on your cash game team for DraftKings?
No, I wouldn't go that far. No, the matchup is tough enough where I don't think you have to play him. I think there is some merit to going with two cheaper starting pitching and really loading up on the bats. I think there's enough expensive hitters in good spots today that you can justify it. Normally I do like to spend on starting pitching, especially for cash games, but I could definitely justify or see the justification in going cheap at starting pitching today.
All right, fair enough. I would suggest, me personally, I think Waka needs to be in your cash game team, but just because it's not the greatest matchup in the world, and these aren't the best Yankees we've seen. We've certainly seen them be a lot worse. But I just feel like the alternative is not very good. So, all right, we'll kind of sort of disagree on that. But let's get on the catcher. Derek Norris, that's my top guy today, versus a lefty at home 4K on DraftKings. Who do you have?
Yeah, I think Derek Norris is in a great spot. Catcher, a lot of the top guys don't have great matchups. Posey against the Sharks, certainly don't really want to pay for him there. Yadier against the right-hander, but he's priced up, so not super fond of that matchup. So I'm with you. I think Derek Norris probably a top option. Another guy I like that I know we talked a little bit about pre-show, and you don't seem to share my love of him, but I think Jared Saltalamacchia is in a good spot. He does hit right-handers very well, and that's over a huge sample size of career at-bats, and also applies today. You're kind of dependent on the home run there a little bit, but at 3.3K, in the matchup against Rourke, if you're not on Rourke, I think Saltalamacchia could be a good way to go.
Yeah, for the price, 3.3K, I won't argue with that. I'm a Marlins fan. I watch him play. I watch all the games pretty much. So he's just a frustrating player to watch. He'll run into a home run every once in a while, but he just has so many bad at bats. He looks so terrible sometimes.
That's pretty much every non-elite hitter, though.
Yeah, I guess.
If you watch every at bat, these hitters look bad over half their at bats. I would say most guys.
Yeah, but you'll see a guy like Encarnacion lines out the third. You don't see Saltalamacchia lining out a bunch. You see him popping out, striking out, swinging at bad pitches, and every once in a while hit a dong. But like you say, 3.3K, that's a very fair price. Looking at what about the Eloso Blanco, 3.6K? Clay Buchholz gives up those dongs, and he double donged yesterday.
I believe he's out of the lineup today.
So no, we're not playing him, is what you're saying.
You could hit the pinch hit dong. You could go there. Super contrarian.
It is super. Nobody else would have him. You're right. Super contrarian.
Tommy G special.
Yeah. Tommy G's like, what is everybody else doing? I'm going to do the exact opposite. That's his research.
I'm taking Oso Blanco today. He's coming in.
How about Josmil Pinto? You like him? 3.5K?
Yeah, I love me some Pinto. He hits righties really well. Super, I don't think a lot of people have seen this guy play, but he's got serious power and could certainly leave the yard today. So I don't mind the matchup. I do think there's going to be runs in that Minnesota-Texas game. It does have a high over-under, and pretty much an even split as far as who Vegas thinks is going to win. So they're certainly expecting runs from the Twins, and Pinto would be in a good spot if he was in the lineup, which I don't think he is.
Oh, so what is there any other catchers you want to talk about, or that are not in the lineup? Let's talk about those guys.
Well, it looks like a lot of the top catchers are sitting today. I think Yan Gomes could be okay against Quintana in Chicago. That's a nice park for him to hit a home run. He does hit lefties pretty well. The one problem with him is Quintana is actually better against right-handed pitching, so the platoon advantage there is maybe not what you would expect it to be.
3.7K is a fair price. What about A.J. Brzezinski? He's batting up in the order today. He's batting fifth. 3.6K versus Irvin?
Yeah, that's a decent spot for Brzezinski, who he hit that home run off Price the other day. Decent spot, decent hitter. Wouldn't mind it at all.
I'm trying to see. Russell Martin, 3.4K. That's a little price down as well. That's not so bad against Gavin DeGrom or Jacob DeGrom. Jacob DeGrom.
DeGrom. Yeah, I don't mind it.
And I guess it
sounds like you're playing Norris mostly, though.
Well, the only problem with Norris is he's priced ahead of all these guys, which
you got to pay the piper, Dean.
Rightfully so. I think he deserves to be the highest paid guy here. But by the way, you mentioned Buster Posey. He's 4.8K today on Draft Street, which I thought was kind of weird.
Ooh.
And Derek Norris, yeah, that's really cheap. It's not the best matchup in the world. It's not a lefty, but it's Samardzija, 4.8K. Although Derek Norris is like 4.5K, so catchers are really cheap there today. All right, let's get out of catcher and talk about first base. My favorite first baseman plays in the late slate. I love me some E5, some Emma Encarnacion tonight against your boy Eric Bedard, who I
Not
believe
my boy. Not my boy.
Oh, okay. Am I misquoting you? I'm sorry. I must have. I guess I misheard you. I thought you said impending doom. Oh, I see what you're saying. Impending doom is a negative thing. It's bad.
It is. It is. I know your vocab is not up to snuff, but yes.
Well, I'm still working on the vernacular, but yeah, my top first baseman is E5, but he plays later. In the early slate, who do you got? Top first baseman.
I like the Tigers. Miggy Cabrera and Victor Martinez. You can save, 1,100 DraftKings dollars.
It's really bold.
Yeah, I know. By going down to Victor. Victor actually, surprisingly, has been quite a bit better against left-handed pitchers this year. I'm not sure a lot of people realize that, just given how good he's been. You can play him against anyone, but he's been especially potent, against lefties as a right-handed bat. Has an amazing 562 WOBA against lefties with an isolated power of 359, just absolutely crushing them. So against Tommy Malone in Oakland in a game where it looks like the wind should be blowing out, at a pretty steady clip, I'll take the savings there and go for Victor over Miggy, who I think Victor is probably one of my top overall plays on the day, regardless of price or position.
Ty Malone's been good of late, but I think you're right. I have no issue with those guys. It's just finding the money for them. Obviously Miggy and Victor Martinez are not cheap, but they are in a nice spot. Bigger ballpark, but they're used to it in a big ballpark in Detroit, and they have no issues there. Freddie Freeman, 4.6K versus Buchholz. I don't mind that at all. David Ortiz is in the lineup. I don't mind him against Urban Santana at 4.7. Chris Johnson, if you're looking for a cheapie, I know he donged yesterday, and he's in a nice lineup spot. Adam Dunn is a boom buster, 4.3K. Any interest there?
Yeah, I like him. I think he'll be under-owned today.
Always.
Yeah, and especially he's priced up a little bit. 4.3K. I don't think people want to pay that for Adam Dunn, but I think he is actually one of the top candidates to hit a home run today off Josh Tomlin, who, not a good pitcher, home run prone. I think Dunn is in a really good spot, and we'll be under-owned. You might be able to get that, 10% owned home run out of him on DraftKings. So great spot for him. He's only going to get 3 at bats, and they're bringing a lefty, and he has no hope.
I got another one for you as a possible donger. Ryan Howard, I actually rostered him yesterday as my first baseman in most spots just because I hated the first baseman last night. And he got no hit. But, today versus Chacin in that bandbox, I think he's in a nice spot to possibly dong.
Who was that? Sorry, I was looking at chat.
I don't believe. Ryan Howard.
Ryan Howard. Yeah, he's all right.
He's 3.8K on DraftKings. That's a fair price. Nice boom bust donger.
Yeah. He's basically Adam Dunn of the National League. So save a little cash there. They're basically in kind of a similar spot. Middling right-handers who like to give up home runs, small ballparks, and neither of them can hit a lefty. They're sort of the same player, and you can save that 500 going down to Howard. So certainly don't hate that. I actually like the guy right below Howard quite a bit, Adam LaRoche, against Eovaldi, who struggles against right-handers, and LaRoche is lefties, sorry, and LaRoche, mashes against right-handed pitching. He's just off the DL, but it sounds like he was kind of ready to go for a few days before he was even activated. So he's been taking BP for a while. I think he could be kind of sneaky in Washington against Eovaldi. So I do like LaRoche quite a bit too.
I don't hate him. I think Eric Hosmer's a little priced down too as well against Feldman, the righty. EMAC is asking in the chat room, you got Big Papi or Fab Five Freddy? Pick one.
Ooh, both good plays.
Pick one. Get that limb.
Give me Freddie. I like. I think at this point, Irvin is a better pitcher than Clay Buchholz is, and yeah, I'll take Freddie. What about you?
Is Paul? I agree. I take Freddie, but it's really close. It's 51-49. I agree. It's pretty much a coin flip.
Both are good plays. Obviously, a ton of ways you can go at first base, as always.
I wanted to see if Paul Konerko was in the lineup at 2.8K, just looking for an extreme cheapie, but he's not. Anybody else at first base that's worth a look here? I don't know.
Not a lot down there among the drugs. No, I think we covered. I think you kind of want to spend up. I'm not sure I would go much lower than Adam LaRoche from what I'm seeing.
All right, second base. Is it still Scooter Gannett? Month, week? What is it? Year? Scooter Gannett, 3.4K. Is that where we're saving some money?
Scooter for life. Yep, he's been good. You can't deny how good he's been over the last 2 seasons against righties. Gets a solid matchup today against Tillman at home. No problem with Scooter at all. I think he's in a good spot. His price just stays low, 3.4K. It's too cheap. You can play him at, I believe, short or second. So got that versatility that you always love. And yeah, I'm all about Scooter today.
If you don't look Scooter's way, trying to see, Holt is leading off with the Red Sox. He's 3.5K.
Yeah.
Trying to Semien.
Chase Utley.
I like Chase Utley, but he's really expensive. I think he's in the 5Ks, is he not?
He is. But that's okay, Dean.
Can we pay it? Can we afford that? Do we have money for that?
Oh, I've got all the money.
Yeah, well, you know what? If you have the money to pay for it, by all means. I think Utley's in it. I said I kind of like Howard. I like Utley even more. Shazin's one of the worst pitchers in the day, is he not?
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely not a great pitcher. Good hitter's park. Utley's been crushing right-handers all year and seems revived. I don't know. I know his knees are pretty beat up, so who knows how long it will last. But I'm happy to ride the wave, while it's going, and I think Utley's in a good spot. I'm personally willing to pay up for him today.
So you like Utley more than Ian Kinsler against the lefty. Ian Kinsler, in a small sample, he has over a 900 OPS against lefties, always better against lefties in his career, even more so this year. He's $200 cheaper. Kinsler versus Utley, you say?
I say Utley.
All right, there you go. No, I like how you said that one with conviction. Last time you were on the fence. I was not convinced you like Freddie Freeman more than David Ortiz, but I believe you like Utley more than you like Kinsler.
Oh yeah, way more.
Chris Young is terrible. He's another one of the bad. He's finally, the regression monster is finally gnawing at him a little bit. Don't mind Howie Kendrick, but 4.7K, big ballpark, righty versus righty. I'm fine with Howie Kendrick. I just don't know if I'm going to pay for that much on DraftKings because I can pay a little bit more and get Utley or Kinsler.
Yeah, the problem with Kendrick, he just doesn't have, at least historically, that much power, and he doesn't have that much speed. So I know he's been really good this year, but you kind of wonder how long he can keep it up, especially in GPPs. I really like to target guys that either have one or the other, or preferably both. But there's not many of those guys, and he's kind of just a good cash game play. But that's an expensive price for him. I'd definitely rather go to Kinsler or Utley.
Is Odor in the lineup today? He's 2.8K. Is he in the lineup? Do we see him?
Odor. I don't know. Let me check.
I'm just looking for a cheapie that we can find.
Odor, yeah, he is batting
ninth.
Is he super cheap still on DraftKings?
2.8K. I figure he's worth a nod, and facing Kevin Correa in the humidity, as you mentioned. I know he's had a couple triples. What do you expect for a guy for 2.8K? He's the kind of guy that'll make things happen elsewhere. Hopefully, a little salary saver. I guess if he's somebody that makes everything else look good, sure, why not throw him in the lineup?
Yeah, batting ninth, obviously not ideal, but I think it's a mistake to completely write those guys off. That's probably one less at bat than people batting near the top of the lineup may get, but that's just one at bat, and you consider that I expect Texas to turn this lineup over a few times, so Odor, could easily get 4 at bats anyway. You
have no confidence in your boy Kevin Correa?
None at all, no. Zero.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Correa, who's gonna have a worse day, Correa or Bedard?
Oh man, Bedard. Bedard's gonna be worse.
All right. Any interest in Colton Wong if he's batting second today? He's starting to steal now.
Yeah, I don't mind Wong. I assume he'll be a second. He's been hot since his recall, from the minors, and yeah, no problem at all with him. You're right. He does have a few stolen bases lately. I think 4 in his last 7 or 8 games. So you love to see that, and I think the Cardinals should score some runs today against Whitley. So no problem with Wong at all.
Fair enough. Anybody else we should acknowledge or give like a head nod to of some sort? Anthony Rendon, 3.9K. I know we like to unleash Rendon versus the lefties, but that price is a little cheap. That's a little price down. Sure, I'm perfectly fine with that. If that's all you have left, and you got to fit somebody at 3.9 at second base, I don't hate that.
Yeah, I don't hate it, but even just in a straight pick'em, I would take Scooter over him, and he's $500 less. So I can't really see rostering Rendon myself, given how big his split is. And the matchup against Eovaldi is not a favorable one for him, in my opinion.
All right. I'm a little tempted to bloom it up with Rendon versus Scooter.
Oh, do it. Bloom it up.
You're probably right. Scooter makes more sense at 3.4K. I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to think for a tournament, kind of a zigzag play. Which I'll throw one more guy out for a tournament play. We have no interest in Brian Dozier at 5K. That's not happening. We're not paying that. Not versus a lefty. I mean, he's not facing a lefty, so.
Yeah, he's been good against right-handers this year. I think he's in play. The one thing about him, maybe not quite the hitter he is against lefties, when he faces a right-hander, but he does have a better chance to steal. And, I think he's got double-digit steals on the year already, or close to it anyway. So he does get that advantage. So I don't mind him at all. Vegas certainly expect the Twins to score some runs, and if they do, Dozier's going to have a hand in it.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I was going to throw out Daniel Murphy at 4.5K for a tournament, but not for, just because I don't think anybody's going to play him. He's sort of he's in that no man's land spot, and he's Brandon Compton's not exactly a pitcher to be feared, so I think he's an interesting tournament play, but for cash, that doesn't really make sense. Like you say, Scooter's probably the guy if you're going to pay down. If you're going to pay up, probably go Utley. If not Utley, maybe Kinsler if you don't have the extra $200. All right, let's get out of second base. Let's get out of the keystone position. And let's move on to third. What do you got at third base?
Third base.
Yes,
a lot
sir.
of options here.
All right, throw them at me.
Well, if you just kind of scroll down from the top, obviously Miggy Cabrera in a great spot against a lefty. Adrian Beltre, you got to love him against Correa. Beltre doesn't really have a split, so that's a great matchup for Beltre. And then Donaldson, of course, gets a lefty. Kind of had a disappointing start to yesterday, but he did hit a home run finally late, and he's in a great spot against Drew Smyly, who hasn't been that great lately and does struggle against right-handed bats a little bit. So I like all of the top options. If you go down a little bit farther, Matt Carpenter is finally heating up. He's in a good spot against a right-handed pitcher. Those are the top guys, but there are a lot of ways you can go at third base. If you're looking to save, who are you looking at down at the bottom tier?
Is Arizona in this always slate? Because
I don't think so.
No, they're in the next one there. I was gonna say Eric Chavez is always 3K on DraftKings, like indefinitely for whatever reason. He never changes. And if he's
locked in.
Yeah, they just don't even look at Eric. Throw you 3K. All right, move on. Next, let's see. Connor Gillespie, 3.7K. I'm assuming he's in the lineup. He's a cheapie that might be worth a look, but
yeah,
I feel like third base is kind of a spot to pay up. The Panda has been ridiculously hot of late. They've actually moved his price up to 4.3K. What is he doing, like in 4 of his last 6 games or something like that? But not the best matchup against the Shark, against Samardzija, so I would probably avoid. I feel like Donaldson's the best guy. What's the deal there with Detroit, by the way? What happened? Originally, it was supposed to be Scherzer starting this game, and then finally, did they move that? Or I know some sites or some people, at least some places I looked yesterday when I was doing research, I saw that Scherzer was supposed to pitch today. Do you know anything about this?
No, I don't, actually. I didn't see that, so I don't have any insight there.
I feel like they originally said it. Maybe they originally said it somewhere. ESPN had Scherzer pitching Monday at one point and eventually got maneuvered around. I'm not exactly sure why or what the reason is. Scherzer's pitching on Tuesday. He's not hurt or anything, but I don't know. They just reshuffled their rotation in some way, or maybe ESPN just screwed it up. But in any event, it's Scherzer, and I feel like a site like Draft Street, I feel like they priced their hitters going against the Detroit pitcher, assuming it was Scherzer. So there's some discounted prices there.
Okay.
That
makes sense.
Yeah, take note of that. That's why Derek Norris is like 4.5K. It's one of the reasons.
Yeah.
David Wright versus Compton, 4.7K is a little bit pricey, but Wright's got a 9-game hitting streak, and I think he's got 16 hits in those last 9 games, so he's finally starting to look like David Wright. So I think he's worth a look as well. I'm not a big fan of Compton. Like you said, I mean, sure, I'm not going to talk you out of Cabrera. If you have the money, make it happen. Beltre as well against Correa, sure. I like the elite hitters at third base. I think it's kind of a spending spot.
Yeah. I agree. I want to pay for one of those top guys. They're all in good spots. There are enough value plays, and the pitching's not super expensive today. So I'll be paying up for third base, I think.
What about Manny Machado, 3.7K? That's kind of a cheapie.
Yeah, he's heating up a little bit. I don't mind him. Matchup's not ideal against Kyle Loesch. We didn't talk about him as an option, and I don't really think he's a good one, given a tough matchup against the Orioles, and his price is expensive. But Loesch has been good enough that I don't really want to target bats against him.
Yeah, he's kind of that in-betweener where you don't necessarily want to start him, but you don't necessarily want to, he's one of those spots where And it's it's kind of a tricky ballpark, Milwaukee. Sometimes there's a lot of dongs there. Bernie. I had a question about this.
I saw that on Twitter.
Somebody finally cleared this up for me because it confused me. It didn't make any sense. If you watch the Milwaukee games, whenever so many dongs for Milwaukee, Bernie Brewer slides down the slide. And so my question was, are there two Bernie Brewers? Is there like a doppelganger walking around the stadium? Because, if you're a kid and you go to the Brewer game, you want to have your picture taken with Bernie Brewer, you want to give him a high five and all that. So it only makes sense. I mean, I wouldn't think he's running back and forth between half innings, running from first base to, upper left field and, going to there's two outs, I better go to the slide. But apparently he just doesn't interact with the fans. What's up with that? There's just one guy.
Really? There's only one guy?
Yeah, there's only one Bernie Brewer. He has like a cage where by his slide, whatever. And I guess he doesn't.
Cage?
I think he's caged. I'm not exactly. He's like a wild animal. I don't know what it is. I was asking some of the Brewers fans about this because I was really genuinely curious. Because I feel like this is bad marketing. If I'm a 7-year-old kid and I'm a Brewer fan, what's going to make my day? I want a picture of Bernie Brewer, don't I?
Yeah, really. I mean, they can't spring for the $20 an hour it costs to have a mascot walking around for 3 hours in a game. That's what, $60 a game for 80 games. It's,
$4,800. But
exactly.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. Would you want your picture taken with an imposter Bernie Brewer? I want the real Bernie Brewer to take a picture of me. I don't want the fake guy.
No, the stadium should have like 12 mascots, so one in every section.
7 fanatics just like wandering around the stadium in Philadelphia.
Could get scary.
I think it's a legitimate question, and I feel like, look, if I was a Brewer fan and if I'm a kid in that area, I want to hang out with Bernie Brewer. I want to throw some daps, maybe give him a hug, get a picture of some sort. Again, if I'm a kid, this isn't necessarily something I want to do as an adult. But if I have a child and I'm taking my kid to the game, that's what I'm doing. All right, we should.
Chat's giving you a hard time about the caged Bernie Brewer.
Maybe he's not caged, but he's got it's roped off. He has like his own special area with a slide. For real. Ask. I don't know. These guys will elaborate if they're legit Brewer fans. I've never been to that Miller Park. I've been to like 12 or 13 ballparks. But for whatever reason, that's one that's never popped up on the resume. Maybe one day, but maybe one day I'll find my way up that cage. And also I feel like they should have how like teams let the kids run the bases on Sundays. They should let the kids go on the slide on Sundays, but they don't. All this bothers me. All the marketers in Milwaukee infuriate me. But okay, we're getting off track. Let's talk about shortstops. We're done with third baseman, right?
Yeah.
All right, shortstops. What do you got? Fire away.
It sounds kind of strange given that, 1, he's not at home, and 2, he's not against a left-handed pitcher, but I think Tulowitzki's in a pretty good spot today against Kyle Kendrick in Philly. A good hitter's park, not Coors Field, but still a good park for Tulowitzki, one that he can definitely go yard in. And Kyle Kendrick, he gives him up.
I don't want to cut you off, but I feel like he left yesterday's game, shocker here, brace yourself, with a hammy, or he left the game early with tightness somewhere. That doesn't mean he's not going to play today, but I would be somewhat concerned. I would not lock him in a lineup. They're playing 5 o'clock. Well, I don't know. Obviously, DraftKings has the late swap, but I don't know if he's going to play today. Doesn't mean he's not going to play, but there's some concern there for me. And by the way, who are you roasting Kevin Correa? Because how are you? You want Miguel Cabrera, you want Victor Martinez, you want Troy Tulowitzki. How are you affording these guys? How much salary do they give you at DraftKings?
I have cheat codes today.
Yeah, you're living up to your moniker today because I don't know how you're making this happen. To Troy, yeah, sure, Troy, yeah, give me Tulowitzki, why not?
Yeah, I'm playing Miggy, Victor, Troy Tulowitzki, Chu. It's gonna be a good day for me. I got all the good guys.
How are you gonna do this? I don't understand. This does not make any sense.
Cheat codes.
Okay, well let's pretend you don't have the cheat codes. Let's pretend you're an everyday civilian like the rest of us. So Tulowitzki is okay. I guess you have the money, sure. Personally, I don't think I'm gonna go there just because I don't have cheat codes.
Well,
I don't, and we're not close enough friends where you're gonna let me bar. Is it up, down, left, right, select, start, A, B? What is the cheat code?
That's close, but I'm not giving them away. They're only for me.
All right. Well, okay. Let's just imagine. I always find my way. This guy, I never target him, but he always kind of wanders his way. He's kind of finagles his way into my lineup just because of his price and opportunity. Who am I talking about? He's always got a fair enough price where I'm like, okay, I guess I'll roster this guy. I don't love him, but he'll probably get me 3 or 4 points, 5 points, or I guess 11 or 12 points on draft.
Old Jed Lowry.
Yes, that is the guy.
I knew it.
Yeah. And again, 3.6K versus Drew Smiley. Sure. Yeah. Okay. I'm fine with that. I I didn't target him necessarily, but 3.6K, that seems like a reasonable price. Sold.
Yep, I think he's a great play. Obviously, we mentioned Scooter Gennett earlier, also a good play, kind of around the same price point there. I think you could go either way. If assuming you don't have my cheat codes and can't play every top option. So I like both those guys. Shortstop, kind of a tough spot. I think Eric Ibar could be in play against Chris Young, another pitcher that is facing impending doom as the season rolls along here. So I don't mind him. But certainly it's not, at least on this early slate, it's kind of a tough spot to get in guys that you like.
J.J. Hardy at 3.4K.
Did he ever get that dong?
He did not get the dong, but he got like 2 or 3 hits. And
it doesn't count, Dean. No excuses. No, I don't.
First of all, no, I got 0 complaints. Nobody was upset with me. They got like 3 or 4.
I was.
Well, you know what? You and your cheat codes. I don't even know how you paid for. You only paid 2.4K for J.J. Hardy. You finally actually bought a sale. Ian Desmond, 3.9K. I mean, I just can't find anybody I really love at shortstop. For tonight, I love Jose Reyes. Love me some Jose Reyes. He's stealing bases again. He stole 3 bases yesterday, like 5 in his last 3 or 4 games, something like that. For the night slate, love me some Jose Reyes. You cannot play him tonight, though, or today. But, this isn't exactly breaking ground, but I'm picking on Eric Bedard as well. Somebody's saying in the chat that Troy Tulowitzki with his ankle is probable today. Okay, so I guess he's fine.
What is this, the NBA? Probable?
Yeah.
He's either in the lineup or he's not. There's no probable.
That means he's going to play.
Yeah, you're right, it does.
All right, so like we can roster Scooter here. So pretty much you got to put Scooter either second or shortstop. Is that what we're talking about?
I think, it's hard for me to make a lineup without including Scooter, just giving his price and who else I want to roster. So I'm definitely on the Scooter train once again, which, is not a big change from what I normally do.
They're asking me who we're playing at shortstop on the always slate. Scooter? I guess Scooter? I don't know. I don't know. There's not a lot. I think Jed Lowry. Like I said, I always just wander into Jed Lowry at 3.6K.
So what about, I mean, I think Jed Lowry makes a great play. What about if we, jump over to FanDuel? I know DraftKings is our sponsor, and certainly most of our discussion is based around their pricing. But if you jump over to FanDuel, Lowry and Scooter both not available there. So who are you looking at on FanDuel? Because I'm having some trouble.
Give me 1 second. Let me pull it up. I'll see what my options are. So I did sign up, and I've yet to fill out a team, and so it's going to be a fun scramble from 12:30 to 1:05. Let's see what we got. Let's see what our options are. Jean Segura.
Not a bad play.
I don't hate Jean Segura, but the price isn't terrible. Ian Desmond, 3.1K. That's not a horrific. I think Evaldi's pretty solid, but I don't hate it. I don't mind the punt of J.J. Hardy, 2.6K.
Yeah.
Against Loesch is a kind of he hasn't hit a home run all year. He's better versus lefty as far as power, but
What about old Elvis?
Yeah, 2.9K. It's priced down a little bit. You're right, against the correct. And he's sitting in the top of the lineup, I assume, instead of 8th or 9th?
Yeah, he's second, and he definitely can steal bases off Correa. So.
Yeah, I like that. I think Elvis is probably your best. It looks like the best choice. Xander, I don't hate Xander Bogaerts either, but Boston, they've lost 10 games in a row now. The Red Sox have. Not that we actually care about real life standings and things like that, but the Red Sox have lost 10 games in a row.
That's impressive.
That's hard to do. That really that's pretty tricky. So I'm sure Boston's Boston radio, or I guess is that still a thing, like local radio? I don't listen to local radio, but I imagine that's still a thing, and people are going nuts about with all sorts of fun accents about the impending doom or the current doom in Boston.
Yeah, it's rough out there, but I'm sure they'll get this straightened away given the talent that they have.
All right, let's get out of shortstop. So let's move over to the outfield. You mentioned FanDuel. I think in FanDuel you can certainly find a way to roster both Shin-Soo Choo. I love Choo today, especially for cash games. He can score fantasy points in so many different ways, and Kevin Correa, he can steal bases off him. He can get doubles. He can get dongs. Is he your top outfielder today, Shin-Soo Choo?
He is, yeah. I think he's one of the top overall plays on the board on pretty much every site. Not priced up there with the very top guys, and this is just a ideal matchup for him. Good weather, horrible pitcher, horrible right-handed pitcher. It's all aligning for Choo. Doesn't mean he'll have a great game necessarily, but As far as projected points, he's right up near the top.
If not Shu, is there any value guys in outfield? I'm taking a look. The value guys I like at outfield play at night. I know Will Myers is priced down over there. That's a Tampa Bay Toronto game, as well as Matt Joyce is priced down as well on DraftKings. But again, that's a night game. And I love
Ryan
Jose Bautista. Yeah, versus the lefty. Was he 3K?
Yeah, he's picked it up a little bit. He's had some decent games against lefties, so I think he's in a good spot.
I'm guessing he's batting cleanup today. Let's see, where is he at?
Fifth.
He's batting the 5-hole, which is perfectly fine. You did say Quintana has the reverse splits, but 3K batting fifth, you can't really get too picky.
No.
Who else do we have in the conversation of outfielders today for DraftKings? Jason Hayward's still priced down, but he's just been so. Like, every single time I unleash that guy, he's just so disappointing.
He
looks like he's
like
in a nice
5
spot.
points every game, seems like. 3 to 5 points. A single walk.
Yeah, he's not stealing like I want him to steal. I mean, we'll sprinkle in every once in a while, but not to the extent to. But 3.8K, I guess he's worth a look, I suppose. Batting leadoff, Buchholz has been absolutely horrific. Johnny Gomes is 3.2K, but we like to unleash him versus the lefties. Sizemore batting 3.2K. It's kind of a discount, but I'd prefer Sizemore to be leading off, which he was earlier in the season.
Yeah, I like Coco.
What about Arcia? He just got the call up, batting cleanup. That's how bad your Twins are. Let's call somebody up and put him in cleanup immediately.
Yeah, lay off me, Dean. Come on.
And the Hammer's back. Josh Willingham. Look at that. Arcia and Willingham. They're 4 or 5. We're playing in, like, I don't know, who was your AAA affiliates? We're playing, I guess, did Willingham have a rehab start? I'm assuming. Yeah. That's how bad your team is. Your 4 or 5 just came back from the DL and put him right in.
As far as I can tell, Arcia is not available on DraftKings.
According to RotoGrinders, they're saying he's 2.8K.
Unless I'm doing something wrong here. Possible.
Well, I'm typing it in as well, and it's not popping up.
Yeah.
But according to the RotoGrinders page, they're saying it's 2.8K, but I guess that's wrong?
Yeah, I don't think he's available on DraftKings. Would be a decent play if he was. He's actually an okay hitter against right-handed pitching, at least. Willingham could be interesting, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to go there. Mitch Moreland, I think
he's a boom bust guy.
Mitch Moreland.
How much is Mitch?
3.6 batting third against Correa, so you gotta love that.
Yeah, I agree. I like that spot, and I think he's also first base eligible, but probably a better spot to throw him out in the outfield. I like that a lot. I think that's a good find.
Yeah.
That's weird that the RotoGrinders is like, yeah, let's just put a 2.8 tag on there. Nobody will notice for Arcia. That's weird. Okay, but Jason Worth is a little priced down. 3.9K seems a little cheap. No?
Yeah, he's fine. I think an interesting play today that pretty much everybody was on the A's yesterday. If you weren't on them, it was because you kind of thought it was a contrarian play going against J-Happ. And they disappointed, obviously. If you stacked up the A's, you didn't have a good day. And I think a lot of people might be off of them today, but their prices are still really good. We mentioned with like Jed Lowry, Coco Crisp down at 3.8K is a good play. And I think they'll be a little bit under-owned today, just given how many people were on them yesterday and how disappointed everyone was. So I think the A's and Coco Crisp, Jed Lowry could be really good plays against Drew Smyly and the Tigers.
Chris was 3.8K. That's a pretty fair price, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Fire up some questions in the chat. We're gonna have a few minutes to we'll answer whatever you guys have. Just load them up there.
Yeah. While we're waiting for those questions, we can jump over to draft day and do the rapid fire.
All right, load it up. What do you got? You're gonna fire it up for me?
Yeah, I got it. First matchup, we got Ryan Braun against Ian Kinsler.
Well, somebody just said in chat that Ian Kinsler's out. So just as long as Ryan Braun gets positive points, which isn't always a guarantee. And I'm not even sure if Kinsler's out. We're just trusting some random guy. But if that's the case, I like Ryan Braun to get at least 1 point.
Kinsler is indeed out. And, guys, you might want to jump over to draft day.
Quick! Run!
So, Ryan Braun. Next matchup, David Ortiz against Sin-Chu Chu.
Chu, all day. He's such a money, especially for cash games.
Yep.
Ortiz can certainly bomb, but I'll take my chances with Chu.
Me too. Jason Hayward versus Diane Viciedo. That's an interesting choice there.
Oh, and Viciedo's not facing the lefty as we would prefer. Give me Hayward begrudgingly.
Yeah, I think Hayward's the choice there. Next one, Freddie Freeman and Adam Dunn.
Ooh, Freddie Freeman. I mean, they're trying to trick us there, aren't they? Somebody really likes Adam Dunn.
I do like Adam Dunn, but you got to go with Freeman here. I think that's pretty clear, at least from where I'm coming from. And finally, Yan Gomes and Mark Reynolds.
Wow, Mark Reynolds, the spawn of Adam Dunn. Wow. Give me Yan Gomes.
Yeah. So we agree on all 5, including one, Ryan Braun against Ian Kinsler, who is not playing today. So go ahead and lock that in, guys. I think there's a lot of value. So we have Braun over Kinsler, Chu over Ortiz, Hayward over Viciedo, Freeman over Dunn, and Gomes over Reynolds. And again, that's on draft day, the rapid fire. So I'm going to go ahead and get my picks in there.
I just did as well. I loaded it up, and
the rapid fire max too.
I got to take advantage of that Ian Kinsler being out. But pinch hit dong on Lele, right? It's bound to happen.
Yeah, probably.
I've had it before where I was up 4-0 and I lost because my guy that played versus the guy that didn't play went 0 for 5 and got -5 points, which is always good times.
No, cry me a river, Dean.
Well, no, I'm just saying. Listen, I'm just saying, hey, I've been there before, guys, because I know somebody else is like, yeah, man, it's burned me once before, and I'm just like you. All right, let's get over to the chat and let's see, Adam Eaton or nah.
He's not in a bad spot. I like Eaton today.
Yeah, I don't mind him either. Batting leadoff, what is he, 3 and change? 4K. I guess it's not a terrible price. Josh Tomlin's not a very good pitcher either. We kind of totally ignored him, but yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm eating at 4K. I wouldn't talk you out of it.
Me neither.
Let's see if there's any other questions besides that. There's got to be some on there. There is many people saying that Kinsler is out. So did you confirm that he's out? I didn't check and see.
Yeah, he is out. Yep.
What about Rajay Dayoff? Rajay Dayoff leading off again today versus Time alone. I guess he's not necessarily an auto steal versus the lefty, but he hits better versus lefties.
It's a good spot. He's, as far as I know, he's still 4.2 on DraftKings, so not a terrible price, but it's tough. Those, I like the base stealers that are, that hit lefties better. Are kind of tough to take because when they are on the right half of their platoon split, then they're on the wrong half of being able to steal bases. So he's not a guy I find on my rosters a ton, but he's certainly been productive this year. Can't deny that. Yeah,
it's kind of tricky. I guess you can't have it both ways. We didn't talk about Carlos Gomez. I guess do you like Carlos Gomez? Just a price issue, or do we just accidentally ignore him?
Yeah, he's in a good spot.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I'm perfectly fine with Carlos Gomez.
Yep.
Luke Roy, what was his price on DraftKings? A little too expensive? Is that why we didn't talk about him?
Yeah, I mean, I like to target him versus lefties. Tillman,
sure.
Not terrible, but not great either. So, I mean, you could go there, but I would probably go elsewhere today.
Fair enough. What are your favorites, if you have some favorite stacks, favorite teams to pick on in the early slate, what do you got?
I think the Rangers are my favorite against Kevin Correa. Not too expensive, so you can get some of those guys. Two of my favorite plays, Sin-Chu Chu and Mitch Moreland, at least on DraftKings, are in that stack. And anytime that a couple of my favorite cash game plays are on one team, then I know that that's probably a stack that I want to look at because there's value in it too. So I love stacking against Kevin Correa pretty much always, and I think that's probably my favorite of the day. And then I think the Tigers, just a potent offense, and they could be in for a nice night, in Oakland. Although I do like the other half of that too. I think there'll be a lot of runs in that Detroit-Oakland game.
The FanDuel early slate is really, really tricky, especially for starting pitcher. They're asking Kyle Loesch or Irvin Santana. Who's your guy?
Boy, if I have to take one, I'll take the price savings and go to Loesch. You can save almost $2K there.
Yeah, I sort of phrase it the same way. I feel like the safest play. You got to pick somebody. You got the roster a pitcher today on for somebody there for FanDuel. I think it's Tanner Roark. I really do. I think that's the safest guy. And load up on some bats. That's probably what I almost always pay up for pitching, especially for my cash games, as a rule, just because it builds the best base for you. But I think Roark is fairly safe. He's going to get you about 12 points or so, something like that. Maybe a little bit more if he gets a win, a little less if gives him a couple more runs. But I think I can see about 6 innings, 6 Ks, a run or two, something like that, maybe a W. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, it's kind of hard to even spend all your money on the FanDuel early slate.
Well, yeah. Well, that's yeah. I just well, that's why I think I'm gonna load up with the outfield.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably gonna go with Shu and Braun and maybe Gomez as well. Let's just get one more question before we get out of here. We're creeping up on 12:30. This is an important one and it's vital to today. Jessica Alba or a younger Mariah Carey? Now, this is like the All I Want for Christmas Is You Mariah Carey, not the crazy Mariah Carey.
I kind of like crazy.
Oh.
So I'm gonna go old Mariah Carey.
Oh, you're going off the board. You're going
Oh, yeah.
old Mariah Carey.
This is the equivalent of Pepsi 7 choosing Lisa Turtle over Kelly Kapowski.
Ridiculous, by the way. I still take umbrage with that.
Still
absurd. Yeah, the 80s wants to talk to him. All right, so it's 12:30. Let's get out of here. Anything you want to say to the people?
No. Good luck today. Enjoy your Memorial Day. I'm sure if you're anything like me, you'll be watching a lot of baseball, maybe drinking some beers, eating some burgers, or whatever you want on the barbecue. And yeah, have a good holiday, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds good. Happy Memorial Day, guys, and thank you for tuning in. And good luck on your day with your games today. All right, we're out of here. Holler.